I know what it feels like. That strange, heavy silence before something big happens, like you're standing in the eye of a storm that hasn't hit yet, but you can feel it coming. Everything feels stretched tight, like a wire about to snap, and it's hard to explain to anyone without sounding dramatic. But I get it. It's like your whole being knows change is near, even if your mind can't put it into words. Sometimes it feels like you're just going through the motions, stuck between the person you used to be and the one you're becoming. And that space in between, it's not easy. It's confusing, uncomfortable. It's full of self-doubt. You look around and think, is this it? Am I missing something? But deep down, there's this hum, quiet but steady, whispering that something is about to shift. You're not imagining it. That tension you feel isn't just stress. It's transformation in disguise. And I know you're probably asking yourself the same questions I did. Am I ready for this? Do I deserve what's coming? What if I screw it all up? Those questions aren't signs of weakness. They're proof that you're right on the edge, because someone who wasn't ready wouldn't even be aware enough to ask. You've been carrying so much for so long, trying to hold it together when no one else sees how much it costs you. You've walked through fire that others wouldn't survive. And even when it felt like you were moving in circles, you were moving. You were growing. That version of you, the one who stumbled, who cried in secret, who kept showing up, that's the one who brought you here. But now it's different. You can feel it, can't you? That pull, like something inside is pushing to break free, like you're standing at the edge of a cliff, and the ground behind you is crumbling. You can't go back. Not really. Even if you tried, the person you were is already gone. And what's in front of you? It's not clear. It never is. It's misty, undefined, like a walking into fog without a map. And that's the part that scares the hell out of you, because we're taught to crave certainty, aren't we? To stick with the known, even if it's slowly killing us. Better the familiar pain than the unfamiliar unknown. But you've outgrown your cage. That's why it hurts so much. That's why your soul feels restless. You're too big for the life you're trying to stay small inside of. And I know it's tempting to pause here, to wait until you feel ready. But let me tell you the truth. Readiness is a myth. Nobody ever feels fully prepared to leap. You leap because staying stuck has become more unbearable than the risk of falling. The fear that's bubbling up in you, that's not a sign to stop. It's a sign you're right on track. Fear always shows up before expansion. It's your mind trying to protect you the only way it knows how, by keeping you safe, by keeping you the same. But growth doesn't happen where it's safe. It happens where it's real. You've already done the hard part. You've woken up. You're aware. You're feeling the dissonance between your current reality and what you know is possible. That's the crack in the shell. That's how the light gets in. So if everything feels shaky right now, if you're questioning everything, if it feels like the foundation is breaking beneath you, good. That's exactly what's supposed to happen before everything changes. You don't need to have all the answers. You just need to trust the pull. Something deeper in you knows the way, even if your thoughts don't. You've come too far to turn back now. Let yourself be scared. Let yourself doubt. But don't let that stop you. The pressure you feel, that internal buildup, it's not meant to crush you. It's meant to launch you, like a spring loaded and ready to release. You're not breaking down. You're breaking open. You are right on time. There's something no one tells you about fear, especially the kind that shows up right before your life is about to change. It doesn't come charging in, loud and obvious. It seeps in quietly, wearing the masks of logic, doubt, even responsibility. It whispers things like, "Are you sure you're not making a mistake?" Or, "Maybe you should wait until you're more prepared." And before you know it, you're paralyzed. Not because you don't want the next chapter, but because some ancient part of you is terrified of losing control. I used to think fear was the enemy, that if I was afraid, it meant I was weak or not ready. But now I understand something deeper. Fear is often the final resistance of the old self, the last breath of the identity that knows it's about to die. Because let's be honest, every real transformation is a kind of death. Not a dramatic one, but a subtle internal ending, a letting go of what no longer fits, no matter how familiar it's become. And the tricky part, we grieve what we're leaving, even if it's been hurting us. We get attached to the pain, to the roles we've played, to the beliefs that once protected us. There's comfort in the known, even if it's killing you slowly. Letting go feels dangerous, but it's the only way to make space for something new. You might not even notice how tightly you're clinging until life starts shaking the walls. And then everything feels like chaos. Things fall apart, relationships shift, old patterns start to unravel. It's tempting to see that as failure, but it's not. It's the universe, or maybe your deeper self, breaking the illusion. It's saying, you asked for change. This is how it begins. I remember lying awake some nights, staring at the ceiling, thinking, what if I'm not who I thought I was? What if I've built my whole life on a version of me that's not real anymore? It's terrifying, right? Because if you let go of who you've been, what's left? Here's the answer I've learned. Possibility. That space, the one where you feel lost, scared, uncertain. That's where everything begins. It's where you get to choose again, not based on fear, not based on expectations, but based on truth. But first, the letting go. And it's not a one-time thing, it's layer after layer. Beliefs like, I have to earn love, or I'm not enough unless I'm achieving, or if I rest, I'm failing. These aren't just ideas, they're survival codes your younger self adopted to stay safe. And now, they're suffocating you. Letting them go doesn't happen in a single breakthrough moment. It happens in the quiet decision to stop feeding them, to notice when they speak up and say, not today. It's hard, but every time you do it, you chip away at the prison you didn't even know you were living in. And it's okay to be scared. You're stepping into the unknown without a manual, but fear doesn't mean stop. It means care. It means tenderness. It means your system is doing what it was built to do, keep you alive. But you're not surviving anymore. You're trying to live. There's this moment, you've probably felt it, when it all feels too much. The tension, the questioning, the emotional weight. And that's where most people turn back. They go back to the job, the relationship, the version of themselves they were trying to outgrow. Not because they want to, but because it feels safer than the freefall. Don't go back. This is the threshold, the place where everything in you screams to retreat. But you don't have to listen. You can feel the fear and still move forward. You can let your knees shake and still take the step. No one becomes who they're meant to be without walking through that fear. So if you're there, if everything feels like it's falling apart, like you're shedding a skin that refuses to come off cleanly, breathe. You're not failing, you're becoming. And becoming is messy. You've already outgrown who you were, you know it. Now it's time to trust who you're becoming. Even if you can't see them clearly yet, just keep walking, through the fear, through the doubt, through the silence. What's waiting on the other side is more real than anything you've known so far. You know what's strange? Sometimes when you're the closest to your breakthrough, it feels like you're standing still, like all the progress you've made suddenly disappears into this thick fog, and no matter how hard you try to move forward, you just feel stuck. I've been there. And in that place, it's so easy to think you've done something wrong, that you've missed a step or taken a wrong turn. But what I've come to understand, and maybe you felt it too, is that stillness isn't always a sign of stagnation. Sometimes it's a pause before everything comes together. Think of a dam holding back a massive body of water. For years, maybe decades, the pressure builds quietly behind it. You can't see the force gathering, but it's there, powerful, contained, waiting. And then, in one moment, the dam gives way. Not out of nowhere, but because the build-up finally reached its threshold. That's how transformation works. You don't always see the momentum from the outside, but inside, everything is aligning. I know it's frustrating. I know how much it messes with your head to feel like you're trying so hard and not seeing the results. But sometimes what looks like a delay is actually perfect timing working in disguise. And sometimes the illusion of going in circles is life preparing you for a leap so big it would have terrified you before. There's a spiritual law I've come to believe in. The closer you get to real change, the louder your resistance becomes. It's like the universe is asking one last time, are you sure? It throws chaos at you, doubt, exhaustion, distractions, and not because you're doing it wrong, but because something big is coming, and life wants to know if you're really ready to receive it. Most people quit here. They feel the weight, the overwhelm, and they assume they've failed. They go back to what's familiar, even if it hurts. But not you. You're still here, still listening, still trying. That says everything. And I want you to know, the discomfort you feel isn't a dead end. It's a doorway. All that pressure, all that restlessness, that feeling like your life is too small for who you've become, that's the sign you're about to break through. But here's the thing, you can't think your way through it. You can't logic yourself into clarity. This part requires something deeper, trust. Trust in the process, in the mystery, in your own inner rhythm. You don't need to see the whole path. You just need to keep stepping. It's like driving through the fog at night. Your headlights only show the next few feet, but you keep going, right? Because that's all you need, just the next few feet. And when you move, the road reveals itself. The same is true here. Let go of the need for the full map. Stop waiting for the perfect plan or the perfect feeling. Progress doesn't always feel good. Growth doesn't always feel exciting. Sometimes it feels like exhaustion, like confusion, like loneliness. But that doesn't mean it's not working. It just means it's real. Start small. Do one thing today that honors the person you're becoming. It doesn't have to be big. Call someone. Write one paragraph. Go for a walk and breathe. These little actions, they matter more than you think. They're not just steps. They're declarations. Proof that you're moving, even when it feels like the world has paused. And don't forget to look back once in a while. Really look. See how far you've come. See what you've survived. The old you would be in awe of where you are now, even if it's messy, even if it hurts. You've grown. You've evolved. That deserves to be seen. So when it feels like nothing's happening, when you're tempted to doubt yourself, remember the dam. Remember the buildup. Trust the pressure. Something is coming. You don't have to know what it is yet. Just don't stop now. You know what no one really tells you about breakthroughs. They rarely come with fireworks. There's no grand announcement, no magical transformation scene like in the movies. More often than not, they arrive quietly, dressed in the clothes of ordinary days. But they come. And when they do, you suddenly realize that all those tiny, invisible efforts you made in the dark were actually laying the foundation for something extraordinary. But here's the part that really changed everything for me. The realization that waiting for a breakthrough isn't what brings it. It's the discipline, the small, unglamorous, often unnoticed actions that you choose to take every single day, especially on the days you don't feel like it. That's where the shift happens. I used to think I needed to be inspired first, that I had to feel motivated or energized or aligned before I could take action. But that idea kept me stuck. I was waiting for the perfect mindset, the perfect moment, the perfect energy level, and it never came. Then one day, I decided to do something, anything. without waiting to feel ready. I took one step, and something shifted. It was like lighting a spark in the middle of a dark forest, small, barely visible, but enough. Enough to start seeing where I was, enough to want to keep going. And I realized motivation doesn't come before action, it comes after. The movement creates the energy. That's the paradox we never hear about. You don't act because you're motivated. You become motivated because you act. Discipline isn't about force. It's not about pushing yourself relentlessly or pretending to be some perfectly optimized machine. It's about honoring your future self with your current choices. It's choosing a path and showing up to it, even when it's hard, even when no one's watching, even when your mind tries to talk you out of it. It can look like waking up 15 minutes earlier just to breathe before the chaos of the day, saying no to that distraction that promises instant relief but leaves you feeling empty, picking up the book you've been meaning to read instead of scrolling through another hour of noise. These are small things, microscopic even, but when you do them consistently, they build something massive. They build momentum, and momentum, I've learned, is more powerful than any flash of inspiration. It's what carries you on the days when your emotions don't cooperate, when your mind is heavy, when life gets messy and uncertain. Because here's the truth, life will never hand you the perfect conditions to grow. It will never pause and say, okay, everything's aligned now, go for it. There will always be something in the way, always a reason to wait. But growth isn't about waiting. It's about building, quietly, slowly, day by day. And maybe that sounds unromantic. Maybe it lacks the drama we crave when we imagine changing our lives. But there's something deeply beautiful about it too, because every small act of discipline is a declaration. I'm still in this. I still believe in something more. You don't have to make a huge leap today. You don't have to prove anything. Just keep choosing your future self again and again, even when it feels pointless, even when nothing seems to change. Because something is changing, even if you can't see it yet. Every step is carving a new path beneath your feet. Every small choice is a vote for the life you're trying to create. And eventually, those votes add up. They become a movement, a shift, a breakthrough. So don't underestimate the power of your own consistency. Don't dismiss the tiny things. They matter more than you know. Just keep going, quietly, steadily, trusting that the work you're doing in the dark is setting you up for a light you haven't seen yet. Have you ever noticed how life starts responding differently when you finally align with who you really are? Not all at once, not in a flood, but in small, delicate moments that feel like whispers from the universe. A person shows up just when you need them. A book falls off a shelf with the exact message you didn't know you needed. A quiet inner nudge leads you somewhere you weren't planning to go. And somehow it's exactly right. That's not coincidence. When you start moving from your truth, not from fear or performance or trying to be enough for someone else, the world begins to reflect that back to you. Not in loud, obvious ways, but in subtle synchronicities. Little nods from life saying, yes, keep going, you're not alone. But it's more than just magic. There's something practical beneath it too. You become more open, more present. Your mind isn't so cluttered with self-doubt or proving yourself. You start to notice things that were always there but got lost in the noise. You begin to feel again, not just survive. And one of the biggest changes, the way you talk to yourself. Because before, your inner voice may have been harsh, critical, dismissive. You'd beat yourself up for falling short, for being tired, for not moving fast enough. But when you shift into alignment, that voice softens. You start showing yourself the kind of kindness you've always given to others, and let me tell you, that changes everything. I remember the first time I looked in the mirror and didn't criticize something. It was so quiet, I almost missed it. But I caught it. That pause. That moment where I just saw myself without judgment. And in that silence, I felt something break open. Not in a painful way, in a freeing way, like I'd been holding my breath for years and was finally allowed to exhale. You don't need to become someone else to be worthy of peace. You just need to come home to who you've always been beneath the noise. And that homecoming begins with presence, with being here fully now. That's where gratitude starts too. Not the kind you force because you think you should be positive. I mean the kind that wells up unexpectedly when you realize how far you've come. When you taste your coffee and feel genuinely thankful to have 5 quiet minutes. When you remember that a few months ago you were drowning and now you're learning to breathe. Gratitude isn't just a nice practice. It's an energetic shift. It's how you train your nervous system to see possibility again. When you find small things to be grateful for, you create space inside yourself. And in that space, something new can grow. So pause. Right now, think about 3 small victories from the past month. Not the big, shiny achievements, the quiet ones. Maybe it was choosing to rest instead of overworking. Maybe it was speaking your truth in a moment that felt scary. Maybe it was simply waking up and deciding not to give up that day. Those are real wins. They count more than you know. And no, a grateful heart won't erase the hard things, but it will change your relationship to them. You'll stop seeing every challenge as a punishment and start recognizing them as invitations. Not always welcome ones, but sacred just the same. It's not about being cheerful. It's about being rooted, knowing that even in uncertainty, even in doubt, even in moments of aching vulnerability, you're still on your way. You're still in alignment. Keep tending to your energy. Protect it like it's something sacred, because it is. The people you let close, the words you say to yourself, the spaces you spend your time in, they all shape your inner world. Choose with care. And above all, stay open, stay soft. That's not weakness, it's strength. Because this is where the real transformation happens. Not in grand achievements or external validation, but in the quiet decision to come back to yourself again and again. No matter how many times you've drifted, you're not behind, you're not broken, you're in it. Right now, and you're doing better than you think. There's this point after you finally start feeling the shift, after the first wave of breakthrough rolls through, where something unexpected happens. You look around and think, okay, so now what? You thought everything would be easier now, lighter, and in some ways, it is. But there's also this new kind of weight. Not heavy like before, more like a quiet responsibility. Because once you've seen yourself clearly, once you've felt that kind of expansion, you can't go back. Not really. And there's a part of you that wants to rest, not just physically, but emotionally, spiritually. After all that growth, that push, that inner work, you're tired, and you should be. But instead of judging that exhaustion or trying to push through it, maybe this is the moment to honor it, because even after the highest climb, you need time to sit and breathe in the view, to integrate, to understand who you've become. That's what no one really prepares you for. The fact that growth isn't just about going up, it's also about grounding down, about taking everything you've learned and weaving it into your day-to-day life. Not as a performance, not to prove anything, just because it's who you are now. This is the season of integration. You don't need to rush into the next goal. You don't need to chase the next mountain. You get to pause. You get to soften, to rest, to ask yourself real questions. What did I learn about myself? What do I want to carry forward? What can I finally lay down? And maybe most importantly, who am I now that I no longer believe the old stories about myself? Because that's what this is about, isn't it? The stories. The ones that said you weren't enough unless you were productive, or lovable only if you were needed, or safe only when you were invisible. Those stories served a purpose once. They kept you going. They helped you survive. But now they're too tight, like old clothes that no longer fit the person you're becoming. And it's time to release them with love, not shame. Thank them, bless them, and let them go. There's also something else that becomes really clear after a breakthrough. Your relationships start to shift. Not in dramatic, messy ways, though sometimes that happens too, but more like a quiet recalibration. You begin to feel the difference between the people who truly see you and the ones who only see the version of you they're used to. And that can be painful, because as you grow, not everyone will grow with you. Some people will celebrate your evolution, and others will feel threatened by it. They'll want you to stay where you were because it makes them feel more comfortable. But you didn't come this far to shrink again for someone else's comfort. So take a breath. It's okay to grieve the spaces that no longer fit. It's okay to step back from connections that don't nourish the new you. You're not being selfish. You're being true. And that's what you promised yourself, isn't it? To stop betraying who you are just to be accepted. But don't shut down either. Don't build new walls. Because in this new space, there will be people who meet you with the same depth you've fought so hard to find in yourself. They'll see your soul without needing to explain it. They'll challenge you, inspire you, hold you, and you'll do the same for them. That's the beauty of this stage. You start calling in what truly aligns with your spirit, not just by wishing for it, but by becoming the version of you who's ready to receive it. So give yourself this season of reflection. Slow down just enough to really hear your own heartbeat. You're not lost, you're landing. And even now, as the noise of the world keeps spinning, you have the power to stay centered, to choose your pace. To live with intention, not for validation, not for perfection, but because it feels like home. It's strange, isn't it? You spend so long climbing toward a breakthrough, craving it, chasing it, believing that once you finally get there, everything will make sense. And then it happens. You arrive. And for a moment, there's this pure, raw joy, a quiet moment of "I did it." But almost as quickly, something else settles in. Not disappointment, more like a realization. This isn't the end. It's the beginning of another path. That's the thing no one tells you. Growth isn't a finish line, it's a rhythm. And after the breakthrough comes the responsibility to keep showing up, to keep evolving, to not fall back into the comfort of what you've already conquered. And yet, there's something sacred about this space too. You're not who you used to be. You've earned every scar, every insight, every piece of clarity you now carry. And if you're honest, you've probably surprised yourself with your strength, your resilience, your ability to keep going when everything inside you wanted to quit. That deserves to be honored. Take this moment. Really take it in. Let yourself feel proud, not just for what you achieved, but for who you had to become to get here. All the versions of you that carried the weight when no one saw. All the choices you made in silence. The nights you cried and still got up the next morning. That was you. That was real. But now it's time to reflect, to ask deeper questions. What did this breakthrough teach you? What patterns did you leave behind? What truths did you uncover about yourself? And where are you still being called to grow? This is where you begin to understand that success, real success, isn't about external milestones. It's about alignment, peace, the feeling of living your life from the inside out instead of chasing someone else's version of meaning. It's about building a relationship with yourself that's rooted in compassion, not performance, where your worth isn't determined by productivity, but by presence, where you don't just seek purpose, you live it moment by moment through the choices you make and the way you treat yourself and others. And as you sit with that, you'll also start to notice how your environment, your habits, your spaces, your relationships, begins to reflect your inner world. You'll feel a pull to refine things, to clear out what no longer supports you, to surround yourself with people who don't just admire your light, but who help you protect and nurture it. This isn't about perfection, it's about clarity. And clarity brings a new kind of discipline, one that isn't about force, but devotion. A daily recommitment to becoming who you truly are, not for applause, not for validation, but because anything less feels like betrayal now. And even as you deepen into this new version of yourself, don't forget the value of the small things. The morning light on your face, the way your breath feels when you're still, a message from a friend at just the right time. These are not distractions from the path. They are the path. They're reminders that the extraordinary is often hidden in the ordinary. There will still be days when doubt creeps in, when you question your progress or wonder if you're doing enough. That's okay. You're human. But you now have the tools to meet those moments differently, to pause, to breathe, to remember, to trust. You didn't get here by accident, and you're not done, not by a long shot. This is the beginning of something even deeper, not louder or flashier, but truer. And the beautiful thing, you get to choose how to walk it, step by step, day by day, still becoming, always becoming. There's a quiet kind of beauty in what comes next. After the breakthrough, after the reflection, when you're standing in this open space that feels like both an arrival and a departure. You've crossed a threshold, but now the real question emerges. How do you live from this new place? How do you not just visit clarity, but build your life inside it? This is where self-care becomes sacred. Not the surface-level kind, not the kind we post about or schedule as an obligation. I mean deep-rooted care. The kind that asks, what do I need to feel whole today? What do I need to stay connected to myself when the world pulls me in every direction? Because let's be honest, it's easy to forget. To fall back into the habits of pushing, of proving, of running on empty. You start climbing again without even realizing it, chasing new goals before you've even tasted the fruit of the last one. But this time, you know better. This time, you can slow down and ask yourself, what's the point of reaching the summit if I never let myself rest at the top? You deserve to feel the joy, to feel the breath return to your lungs, to laugh without guilt, to do nothing and let that be enough. Your nervous system, your heart, your soul, they need space to recover, to settle into this new frequency you've fought so hard to reach. And maybe that's the lesson here. Growth doesn't always look like motion. Sometimes it looks like stillness, like integration, like letting your roots grow deeper so that when the next storm comes, and it will, you don't just survive it, you're grounded through it. This is also a time for clarity, to look back and really see the landscape of your journey, the detours that ended up being divine, the losses that carved room for new beginnings, the heartbreaks that taught you boundaries, and the wins that taught you humility. And through all of it, something has crystallized inside you, a knowing, a quiet confidence that doesn't need to be shouted. You've become someone who trusts themselves, who listens deeply, who doesn't need constant external affirmation to feel steady. That's power. And now that you've arrived here, there's something else, something bigger, waiting. And it's not another goal or project or achievement, it's service. Because when you evolve, it doesn't stop with you. Your growth becomes an offering, a ripple, a beacon. You don't even have to try. Just by living in alignment, you give others permission to do the same. Just by honoring your truth, you inspire someone else to question their own limits. Someone out there is watching you, maybe quietly, maybe from afar, and they're finding courage in your story. That's the beauty of real transformation. It doesn't end with the self. It circles back out into the world. So ask yourself, how can I share what I've learned? Not in a way that drains me or makes me perform, but in a way that feels natural, generous, alive. Sometimes it's a conversation, sometimes it's a gesture, sometimes it's simply being present with someone who's still in the place you used to be. And when you share from that place, not of perfection but of truth, you become a guide without even meaning to, a light in someone's fog, a reminder that it's possible. So don't hold back. Your evolution matters, not just for you, but for all of us. Keep walking with that open heart. Keep tending to the life that's blooming from the inside out. Keep becoming, not because you need to be better, but because you are already everything. And now you're finally letting the world see it.